Thanks everyone for joining today's Inside the Build Spotlight. This series is about highlighting real launch stories from teams that are building meaningful financial products with method. Today, we are lucky to be joined by the team from Ditch, a personal finance app focused on helping people pay down debt in a way that actually sticks. So welcome. I would love, before we kick off, Luis, for you to introduce yourself.
Cool. Well, thank you, Elana, for having me. I'm the founder of Ditch, and we're building what I would say is an ecosystem of agents that help borrowers navigate their journey to debt-free. Our most popular agent is a repayment agent, where we help borrowers automate the repayment process by sending roundups of all their purchases directly towards their debt. So you walk into Starbucks, you buy a coffee for $3.50. We take that 50-cent roundup and then send it directly towards your student loans, your credit card, your mortgage, any liability that you're paying off. And then the latest agent that we've been focused on is Danny. It's a companion that's meant to guide people through the complicated path that it is to become debt free. And it tries to do so in a very human way. Danny is proactive, encouraging, warm, and it learns how to best communicate with our users. For example, one of our users recently went to social media to share a push notification that Danny had sent them. And it read something like, "I'm going to hold your hand so tight when I say this, but you need to stop going to Target," which creates this magical moment and shows that Danny is extremely in tune with how to best communicate with the user in a way that leads to actual meaningful and real behavioral change. Danny also surfaces refinance opportunities, helps guides users through relief and new originations, and his overall tries to be a helpful assistant.
Talk to me a little bit about who Ditch is built for and what your typical user looks like.
Cool. So I think that Ditch is built for what we think is the next generation of borrowers, which is primarily Gen Zs and millennials. We see this as a generation of people who've fully embraced automation. They want the work done for them. They want to set it and forget it and watch Ditch automatically start chipping away. And what in many cases feels like an unsurmountable amount of debt. I think that specifically for us, we see a lot of success with stable income, multi-debt borrowers. Today, our user base is primarily female. So think of a 26 to 28-year-old nurse that's focused on paying off her student loans, for example.
Awesome. And that's really exciting. And I actually would love to, get into more of where Ditch is and where it's going as we get to the end. But I'm going to start by just taking you all the way back to the beginning. So in the process of building Ditch, just want to walk through why, you really felt like it needed to exist. A lot of apps out there help people understand their finances, but why do you feel like just understanding and having visibility alone wasn't really enough when it came to debt?
Yeah, look, I think that we've taken the realistic take that if you're a personal finance app that's focused on education, if you're focused on awareness, and you're trying to compete for attention with Instagram and TikTok, then you're most likely going to fail, right? It's a simple equation that comes down to dopamine. You're going to very, very greatly limit your TAM if you're only focusing on the subset of borrowers that are willing to create the behavioral changes that it takes for those awareness tools to be effective. For me to actually go to the app and take the educational modules or go and create the sort of behavioral pathways that lead me to go back to an app and look at budgeting and categories and this and that, you're limiting your TAM quite a bit. And the thing for Ditch was that we wanted to be the tool that created that automation, right? We wanted to build for the generation that has already embraced automation. And that was a core pillar of our product, is that we wanted to build a tool that where borrowers could set and then forget it and get value out of the product.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And I'm kind of more curious, as you started to build this vision, where did things start to get harder than expected?
Yeah, I think the first thing that surprised me is that there is no intuitive way to push a payment to a user's liability. You'd think that that's a solved issue, right? We have peer-to-peer payments. We have obviously ACH payments now, with all the FedNow and RTP, but there isn't an intuitive way to push payments towards a user's debts. And so we were initially very surprised about that and felt like it was quite challenging. And there are many, many barriers to entry. And the fact that Method just abstracts that and allows us to focus on building the best customer facing experience, I think has been like an immense value add for us.
I mean, we love to hear that, and that's exactly the type of experience that we're excited about supporting. I guess, so you've discovered Method in the process of, beginning to talk to your partners here at Method. What, specifically stuck out as, wow, this is exactly fitting the need of what we want to build?
I mean, here's the thing that like we've understood about our customers, right? Consumers, especially as they're interfacing with consumer products, are extremely fickle, right? Like they churn easily. The experience needs to be so intuitive and immersive. And most of the open banking tools today have created a system where borrowers feel like the linking process, the account linking process is at the institution level. And one of the things that stuck out for us initially was the fact that Method had created this beautiful experience where connections were made all at once, right? Like it's one call and that pulls in all the liabilities. And I think that that is translated to our users, and very often they're surprised at how seamless the experience is. The separate thing is that for us, again, seeing that onboarding experience, those first 30 seconds of our user's journey with the actual product and as they interface with the product are so sensitive. If you want to drive a user to conversion, you need to make sure that experience in onboarding remains incredibly immersive, and breaking that immersion through like multiple account links is a huge deterrent to a conversion event happening for us. And so the first thing that stuck out for us from a product standpoint from Method was that it was a seamless one link experience that then created this like, wow, how did you know that I like had a student loan, or how did you know that this and that, and like creates this like relationship that from a foundation of trust with the user, because they know that we understand who they are.
That makes a ton of sense. And I guess, and you did highlight this a little bit, but just to double click here, when you're thinking about Method versus other potential solutions, I know you mentioned just the speed and the trust that's built with that user during the onboarding process are hypercritical. But what else about Method just made it feel like the right way to go when compared to alternatives?
Well, this is something that has been learned during the process of working with Method. And this is not something that like you guys, I mean, I'm sure that it's advertised somewhere, but it's something that we have learned as part of the process. And it's been like honesty, and I'm not just saying this because we're here today, I'm saying this in good faith. It has been the extraordinary customer service, the camaraderie that we've been able to build with Method, the fact that it has always felt like a partnership. Like we at Ditch secretly think about the Method engineering team as like truly as an extension of our own. And I think that it goes both ways as well. And it really feels collaborative. It feels flexible. We feel extremely supported by the Method team. We have Slack channels where we communicate with you guys, and it's back and forth. Anytime that anything happens, we are immediately like, at least feel like attention is being drawn to the problem that we're having, whether it's a user with a payment, whether it's like, we found an issue in the experience, like anything that we surface gets like, we know that we're not talking to deaf ears. We know that we're certainly on the other side have a team that's collaborating with us and that really wants to help us figure this out. And I think that's something that's extraordinarily unique. I mean, we have other SaaS providers and SaaS partners across like, within the financial spectrum, but also broadly speaking outside of that. And we just don't feel the same, right? It does not feel collaborative. It doesn't feel like an experience that's where we feel as supported as we do from the Method team. So, again, like, and that's a huge thing for us, right? Like the fact that we feel like if things break, if something happens, we have a team that we know that we can reach out to and they're going to figure it out. Don't want to name names, but there's a ton of the Method engineers that they know who they are, that have been extraordinarily collaborative with us, right? Like they're helpful. They've been there. They get into the weeds. They care deeply about our experience and about giving us a great experience. Our, account managers, like these are people that, like I flew to New York and I was there and I worked out of the Method office because you guys are so awesome and so cool. So.
No, and we really do love to hear that. I think that we, your success is our success. And I think that that is something that Method really truly believes in and, executes against in a way that it's paramount to one of our values. I think going along with and just kind of like pivoting within the, what the developer experience is actually like to work with Method. Could you, and I know I'm sharing a little bit, again, going on a tangent here, but share a little bit about like when in the process of integrating Method and building with Method, how did the developer experience play into that for you? So the ease of actually using our APIs, the front-facing documentation, the support you get, how does that sort of feed into the overall outcomes that you were trying to achieve?
Yeah, I mean, it just catalyzes things, like one of the things that when you're an early stage startup like we were, and I guess like how we still are today, like your most limited resource is time, right? Like you're rushing to get to market. Sometimes it's a race to get to market quickly. And, when you have such a core and integral part of your product, which is like, Method and the other open banking tools that we use, you really have to get it right from the documentation standpoint so that you can self-serve. And that was true for Method, right? For us, like, we consume docs for many, many other SaaS tools that we use and APIs that we've integrated with. And the Method docs are world class. I mean, there's just no other way to say it. They really are world class. And beyond that, where there were gaps, we had a full like engineering team that was ready to help. And they would even in some cases like write code for us, right? Like, hey, like this is our function. Like, what's the best way to like do this or do that? And your team would like roll up the sleeves, get in the trenches with us, understand our code base, immerse themselves into our code base, and help us go through things quickly so that we can bring this feature of the product to market in as easy as possible. So, again, has been an extraordinary experience. Docs are really, really great. The API reflects what the docs share, right? Like there's no gap between what we can expect from the docs and what's actually live. And then the team has also just been extraordinarily available, like nights, weekends. It's unbelievable.
It's helpful, when you're one startup working with another, you really have the ability to share in that round the clock
Totally.
support. But again, it's really, really something that we strive for and pride ourselves on here. So I'm so happy to hear it and great to see it actually, playing out live with a customer. I think just going back to, I guess when we were talking about this earlier, you had mentioned, a really integral part of the experience for your users, right, is that during onboarding, it doesn't take them a really long time to get to the app experience. They're able to link out their accounts, they're able to experience the magic of Ditch as quickly and as seamlessly as possible. So can you talk to me a little bit about how, now that, like, I guess maybe in the beginning and through now of Ditch being live with users, how have you seen that, the speed and true efficiency of the Method integration feeding into the actual success of a user's experience?
Again, like one of the things that has been one of the, like, I guess like most fundamental things that we've learned is that if you ask the user to go and make a payment themselves, like they won't, right? Not because they don't want to, but because like things just get in the way. They forget, they hesitate, they think they're going to go and do it next week. So for us, like automation had to be the default, right? The product had to work for you, not with you. That meant that the entire system, payoffs, payments being routed, roundups, it had to all work without like interference from the user. And I think that again, like the beautiful part about Method and the API and the integration has been that you guys abstract a lot of the complexity of making that like bill pay payment directly towards the user stats. And so, yeah, I mean, again, I think obviously our products are very intertwined. And I think that's, I mean, it's been a great thing. Like there's a lot of companies that dated Ditch that were in this space that failed precisely because they had to invest ungodly amounts of money into building the infrastructure that now we consume through API with like other Method, the other open banking APIs. And so, yeah, I mean, we're kind of like, it delegates the task back to Ditch to build like an extraordinary, like 10x better experience than anything else in market. And having the integration be so seamless allows us to focus on what we know to do best, which is to build an incredible customer facing experience. And we don't have to worry about figuring out like all the logistics of a complicated API of docs that were written in 2009. And you're kind of like sifting through like, what does this mean? That has not been the case at all. And that has been one of the things that has allowed us to build like really quickly and build an extraordinarily great product.
And yeah, I guess speaking more to this incredible experience that you now have the ability to just laser focus on building, what are you the most excited to build next with Method?
Oh, more to come. One of the things that we are excited about is that we are working. We are always trying to find better ways to serve our users better. And I think that in the past few months, the obsession has been with understanding how where our users' needs are beyond the concept of automated extra payments. And I think that one of the things that we've discovered is that by virtue of what we are doing with Ditch, which is getting users from point A, which is they are facing this like what seemingly is an unsurmountable amount of debt. They're lost, they're stuck, and getting them to point B, which is where they are in a much better financial position. Their financial lives are healthier. Their priorities shift. It just invites this very unique opportunity to predict what the next steps are, right? What are the next steps for a borrower that just went from being like in an unsurmountable amount of debt to now feeling like they've regained some control, right? Like what opens what clears up when that's in the purview. And one of the places that I think we're all as a team really excited about is the idea of, one of the obvious ways to service a borrower is to put in front of them an offer for a refinance, for a new origination that is profitable for them, right? A lot of users come to Ditch with, a private student loan with a 12.5% interest rate, when their newfound financial profile should qualify them for a much better rate. And so allowing users to matching borrowers with new and better offers, I think is one of the things that we're really, really excited about, and is one of the things that we're working on building. And where Method is helpful is that as opposed to just creating an experience where we're just presenting every offer in front of the borrower, which is not the idea, because part of the thesis of Ditch is to help the users get out of debt, not to get back into debt. So we want to limit the offers that our users see to the ones that are profitable for them. In order to do that, we're leveraging Method's credit score products so that we can do some pre-filtering and some modeling for pre-approvals for who we think is a borrower that will be qualified for an ROI positive offer before we just put all the offers that we have for them in front of them, so that we can make sure that when a user does see an offer, Ditch has done some vetting, that the offer that they're about to see is generally going to be ROI positive.
That's awesome. And really excited to see that come to life. I think, and just to wrap this up, I think a general theme that I'm getting here is, Ditch is a obsession with a customer experience, right? They want their users to have the utmost high touch experience that actually drives financial outcomes. So as you think of leading the charge, I'd love to ask, just from what you've built with Method already, what's the kind of user feedback that you've seen reflecting like how powerful, the ability to automate debt payoff and the ability to onboard all of your accounts so quickly has been? And then I'll ask you a little bit about how you think what you'd like to see more feedback from users in the future.
Yeah, look, I think, and to keep it tactical, Ditch was built for a completely new generation of borrowers. Our user base primarily is Gen Z and millennials, and we know that this is a generation that has fully embraced automation. They want the hard work done for them. They want to set it. They want to forget it. They want to watch Ditch automatically start chipping away again at what in many cases feels like an unsurmountable amount of debt. And the truth is that for that specific segment, and just broadly speaking in general, most of the sophisticated financial tools that exist in market right now are regressive in nature. That means that the wealthier that you get, the more access you have to those sophisticated financial tools. But with the advent of AI, commoditized intelligence, tools like Method that save us years of integration and build, we feel like there is a unique opportunity to bring to market a product that brings that sophistication to the 99%, right? Like those sophisticated financial tools that are effective and makes them available to the 99%. And I think that the feedback that has followed is exactly that, right? The feedback that we get from most of our users is that they now feel like they have access to this tool that feels like an unfair advantage in their debt repayment process, right? I think that the feedback follows again because we have created this like wonderful, extremely delightful experience for borrowers where, hey, of course this makes sense. Like sometimes I'll like donate my roundups to charity. Like why not just donate the roundups towards my debt? And so I think the feedback has been like extraordinarily simple, amazing product experience. And all those things that we hear consistently from our users are enabled by our method integration, the fact that we don't have to invest in all the infrastructure to support liability connections, payments, etc., because we can focus on the experience.
That's awesome. And then in 1 year, 5 years from now, where is Ditch to your current user base or future user base, and what more are they saying about you?
I think the vision for Ditch is to build an ecosystem of agents that give borrowers an autonomous debt operating system, right? Like where end to end your financial journey from, again, point A being you have this insurmountable amount of debt to point B being you're completely debt free. You have this companion that's guiding you through the entire process. It helps you with automated repayment. It helps you with new originations. It helps get you debt ready. It's proactively listening for refinance opportunities in market. If you fall on the other side of that bandwagon, you need help with relief services. It's a tool that is all encompassing and gives users this autonomous debt operating system. I think that's our vision. And the desire is that when that vision comes to life, that our users interpret us as such. And the testimony is that I started my journey with Ditch. I had $36,000 worth of student loans, $6,000 on a credit card, $9,000 on an auto loan. And within a few years, I'm completely debt free. And I could not have done that without Ditch. And I think that truly is ultimately the vision that we have for the product.
Luis, thank you so much for coming on this episode of Inside the Build. We're excited to have you here, and we're excited to continue our partnership together. And do you want to let users know where they can find Ditch?
So you can find Ditch by either going to ditch.com or going to the App Store, Google Play Store, and typing Ditch.
Awesome. Thank you so much again.
Of course.